in the Hecarim.
And already across the board, you see the Udyr banned from red side, so Hecarim automatically rises in priority. Now, Karsa can look towards something like the Lilia, but this is what I was hoping, actually. Instead, because you ban the Udyr, you're willing to say, okay, Hecarim has less gank pressure than just straight farming pressure, as opposed to an Udyr who can kind of do both. He can run out, he can bear slap you, he can hard farm through his jungle. Obviously, Hecarim can gank lanes because his devastating charge is like that obnoxious, but the 1-2 combo of the Renekton, where Renekton's like, I'll hold, and Nidalee's like, I'll punch, and hits the spear from long range, and the fact that they're doubling down on we're hard winning topside, and then in response, Xiaohu's like, give me the Lucian.
Yeah, it's like RNG are getting the counter pick top whether they like it or not, because top esports are first picking their top laners straight out of the gates. So the Lucian locked in, the Kaisa as well, which has been a very high priority AD carry. You'd expect the Tristana to be the response here from JackeyLove. These have kind of been the two AD carries that are very much at the tippity top of the meta in the LPL.
Still technically a flex pick though, although I agree with you, it's probably going to be JackeyLove's pick. Heading into secondary ban phase, we can start pinching out either the mid pool or the support pool and try to sculpt either a winning matchup, depending on what we want to give that away. No surprise. Actually, I'm going to say very surprised to see the Orianna banned from top on red side, because they could have very easily blind picked it, and of course it is, you know, one of Knight's most comfortable, most picked champions.
Yeah, not something you'd necessarily expect, since it's especially such a good blind pick mid lane as well, but perhaps wanting to go for a different style, maybe going for a bit more of a roam style. Things like the Twisted Fate that we've known in play were already banned, the Zoe as well. But still, things like the Viktor are available, and that would be a great takeaway from Cryin as well, because Viktor very much been a favorite of Cryin across the course of the split.
I think this is forcing RNG into a position where they need to ban the Nocturne, because that's also kind of the big thing that's still left up and available. And because Karsa is playing Nidalee, you have, you know, the great damage profile of having an AD mid laner and then an AD mid laner and an AP jungler. And so that's what I think Knight's looking at right now. I think he's thinking about the Nocturne. It would also fill that roam potential that you were talking about, Munch. You know, if you don't have the Twisted Fate, you do have the Paranoia. You can double down on diving up onto that top side.
I will say as well, with that Jax ban, maybe RNG are reading this and saying, look, we know that's a Renekton, but it doesn't have to be a Renekton top. We see plenty of Renekton mid in the LPL, and RNG respect that by banning the Jax. Leona locked in, fairly standard here, and RNG have to finish out their draft here.
Lux or Rakan would be a decent pickup. The nice thing about Leona is that she moves in straight lines, so a Lux support, you know, if Leona ever does tag you, it can be a bad time. But as she's trying to tag in, similar to how Lux can move into Rakan, it can cause some problems. I would expect Ming to go for his Rakan though, because he's such a phenomenal Rakan player. Also does have, never mind, Thresh is banned. Why would I think that Thresh would make it through draft? It's LPL.
Nautilus also available, which can work extremely well with the Kaisa. This is like the classic 2020 lane from LPL, at least, with the Kaisa and the Nautilus. It's something that's been gone to over and over again. And Rakan can quite often suck against Leona, as you say, so I like the Nautilus pick here. An instant answer here with the 369 Sion.
Okay, so Top Esports had the trap. You called it Munch. It was a flex Renekton, so it will be Renekton mid lane, still fulfilling kind of the same responsibility of mixing that damage profile of AD mid, AP jungle, and again, the I'll hold, you punch, but it's getting Xiaohu on his Lucian and then not saying, hey, we're going to try to contest Xiaohu with 369, give him a bunch of resources, give him the jungler's time. Instead, they're saying, aha, trap card activated, we're playing weak side with the Sion. It's really hard to punish him, even if you do dive him, goes into the zombie form, can pick up the entire wave, and instead it's now much more mid-centric, getting Knight ahead with Karsa, and then moving that power around.
Yeah, and you can expect that maybe they'll move that power towards the bottom side, which we have seen from Top Esports many times before. So we are seeing RNG playing towards the top side, though. That's the thing that's most exciting to me. As you rightly said, they've set it up with this Lucian in the lane. 369 is going to have his work cut out. He's going to be playing that weak side. He's done it time and time again. Does need to play the lane well, though, because you misstep in this kind of situation, you can be punished very, very hard. This kind of punishment is exactly what RNG's bread and butter was in the regular split.
So all eyes will be on Xiaohu into that top side. How will RNG set him up for success? While Karsa is on your screen, how will Karsa set Knight up for success? As it's going to come down to the wire of who's going to pop off first of these superstars.
Knight with the Renekton in the mid lane, Karsa on his vintage Nidalee. It's time to get into game number 1 of our elimination match between RNG and Top Esports. We're jumping on Summoner's Rift here for game number 1, our first double elimination match. I doubled the elimination, which I guess it is double elimination. So there was a lot of doubles and a lot of eliminations in that sentence, but it did kind of make sense. RNG, one of our biggest legacy organizations, 3 LPL wins under their belt already against Top Esports, the current defending LPL champions, and they're both just fighting to survive right now.
And taking a quick glance as the crowd get their gyos out across the, not summoner spells. Oh, I need my coffee this morning. Runes. There we go. Keystones. That's the word I was looking for. Nothing too out of the ordinary. It's going to be the spellbook Sion, so 369 really doubling down on the fact that he's probably going to be playing weak side. You already see Karsa setting up for a top side start. And then probably pathing down towards bot side, whereas on the other side, Gala and Ming are giving a leash to Wei there. Reminder that Hecarim is going to be a bit more farm-centric. He can look for ganks. It's usually around the level 3 or level 4 mark that he can look for those ganks, and then probably farms from level 4 to level 6, so he has Onslaught of Shadows. Whereas Nidalee really wants to team up pretty often with that Renekton and the stun set up there.
Yeah, that would be the big thing, is trying to set up in that mid lane for Top Esports. But often it can be a little bit difficult to set up the ganks in the mid lane. Expect potentially dives onto Cryin, but Cryin has played this Viktor a ton across the course of this split. This is very much one of the comfort champions for Cryin, so you can expect him to position correctly. He'll know this matchup against the Renekton. It may look like a crazy pick in the mid lane. Here in the LPL, Renekton mid is not that rare. All of the mid laners are perfectly versed in this kind of matchup.
But already the observers are showcasing not the mid lane, but instead the top lane, and the fact that Xiaohu already has a really large wave stacking against 369 and has already really started to bully him off of this one. So this could potentially set up for a dive because he will have about 2.5, if not 3 waves crashing here. Although, reminder, it's still always going to be dangerous to try to dive a Sion. So I think what Xiaohu's going to do is just try to punish him as much as possible under this tower and start building up that CS lead. Already 13 to level or to 6, although there are multiple waves stacked in front of 369. So we'll keep our eyes to see how healthy he can get that back.
Karsa wants to start the game off aggressively as well,
Flash
looking
stun
towards the mid lane. The Renekton Nidalee combo, in goes Knight. Spear should follow up, but doesn't actually throw it just yet. Waits for the flash.
Oh,
the
no.
spear dodged by Cryin, but it doesn't matter. Kitty got claws.
Yeah, and there we go. We already talked about it. We knew it was coming. You certainly knew that Cryin knew it was coming. He was, you know, hovering towards the top side of his lane. He's like, I know, I'm the target. I am the meal right now. I just have to play this as well as possible. And even though the spear doesn't connect, it still results in the first blood.
Remember when we said Zhuo likes to go a little bit too aggressive? Almost diving the tower there. Ming almost able to punish him. He's fine though. No summoner spells used, so all things neutralized. You can see Wei moved up towards the top side, but the dive that we talked about potentially going on doesn't happen for now.
Yeah, and I think one of the issues was Karsa was also putting himself in a position to look for a gank in response to Knight's TP back on the mid lane. You could see he was actually kind of hovering over the Raptor camp, but because of the wave management, Knight and Karsa doing a really good job to shove the mid wave in after the successful gank. Knight actually gets to just waddle back into his lane, so Karsa throws the white flag, says no, there's no gank opportunity here, there's no gank in top lane, and is just continuing with his hard farm, where round number 2 for poor little Viktor.
Oh, Cryin, this ain't pretty. There's the stun flash from Zhuo. Cryin does not get to play the game. That is brutal.
Oh, it's now 2 flashes that have been used on this Viktor. First setup with the Renekton flash, second setup with the Leona flash, and Karsa's like, I'm on my Raptor camp. I don't know. And this is just such a well-executed plan from Draft. You know, the trap card coming out that the Renekton was going into the mid lane, and it wasn't just about Xiaohu up into the top side, you know, banning away the Udyr, knowing that Karsa would look towards this Hecarim and how Hecarim is a bit more farm dependent and less gank dependent, although he will chase the skater. No flash.
Wei does not care about this. Oh my god, he just solo kills him. That is not how that's meant to go, I don't think. Knight just gets completely taken down. Overstepped on the Raptors, and Wei doesn't even need help. Just 1v1s him.
I know, I kept talking through the color point there because I was like, there's no way Wei's going to kill him.
Yeah,
The Wei was
right?
like, oh yes, I'm going to kill him.
Wei does not care about expectations. He will go if he sees the opportunity, and definitely found his opportunity there. So that's going to be a kill finally on the board in favor of RNG, which does slow the tempo a little bit for top esports, especially when Knight is the guy that they're playing through right now.
And it's always going to help when you have such a powerful champion like Hecarim get any sort of gold here. So already first back has Lucidity Boots, which the CDR, ability haste, is going to help him A, stay topped up in his jungle, but also B, translates into damage for Hecarim because of the way that movement speed works on that VS champion. Really fun. But this is going to be the third cycle of jungle for Karsa for Wei. So you can already see that he's got level 6 with assistance from that kill pickup. He's going to go to his Krug camp, which is going to be spawning right now, and he could even be set up for a gank on bot lane.
All right, Wei wants to influence the bottom side of the map here. JackeyLove has stepped too far forward. The hook from Ming is perfect, and now JackeyLove is an easy pickup. Doesn't even get to use his summoners here. And that was just perfectly orchestrated. You said Wei move it down, and then Ming finds the perfect hook.
Yeah, and it's also just frankly very lazy from JackeyLove and Zhuo. They should be tracking the jungler right now. It's not like Wei has been using any sort of like special pathing. He just went 2 full clears. It's 2 clears and a half before you get level 6, but obviously if you're participating in a kill, especially when you're the pickup of it, it's going to make it that much faster. So they should have known that Wei was on the bottom side of the map. You know, maybe they're feeling confident. You can see that Zhuo's even kind of posturing towards the top side of the lane, expecting the Hecarim to come in, and feeling confident the fact that JackeyLove had flash and rocket jump. But really nice CC management from RNG to allow them to pick up that kill.
Yeah, this is the problem with Leona, though. You don't have Dark Passage, so no way to save JackeyLove on this one. Unfortunate on that side. And actually, it's top esports that start the game with the 2 kills onto Cryin, but the latest 2 kills have been from RNG. It feels like RNG have regained control of this game. Drake is on the map, though, and with a Hecarim versus a Nidalee, I'm not entirely sure which jungler is most likely to be pressuring onto those Drakes.
It's probably going to be the Hecarim at this point, especially now that he also has his Bomby Sender, so heading towards that chemo tank. But you can see that Karsa is spending his time trying to get some deep vision on Hecarim. One of the biggest issues is how you have to ward against him because he is so fast. You can't use the traditional shallow wards because he'll just be on top of you even if you do have the information. So hopefully these deeper wards will help a little bit more keep top esports' lanes a bit safer. But right now, Wei is really starting to pull away with this game. Because such a powerful champion is getting such a massive lead.
No pun intended, I assume, but yeah, you're absolutely right, Wei. Now gets to move up towards the Rift Tower. You can see neither AD carry is going to be moving up to the top side of the map for this, but both supports will be in the vicinity. The top esports grouping up like this, I think they might go for the contest. Knight is over the wall. Xiaohu could be an easy target. Flash immediately forced as the unstoppable onslaught comes through from 369. Buys this space. Knight on the Herald here. Karsa backing up from the side. Zhuo is here, but JackeyLove's moved up. You can see him in the mid lane on the minimap right here. This would be a 5v4 in favor of top esports if they're able to get the fight for themselves. Herald goes down. 369 happy to tank up the culling. Top esports walk away with the objective.
And for all of the compliments that we just gave Wei, that was actually a huge miss there because he had camps up on a hard farming jungler like Hecarim. His Gromp and his blue buff were up, and he didn't have the prio that he needed, nor the numbers advantage to try to force that Herald play. He was just making a check, seeing if it was warded. We just talked about the deep vision that top esports had acquired in his jungle, and you know, that's what happens. It's now that invested time where Wei had a pretty massive lead, and he still does have a pretty solid lead, but he lost it by just that much simply because he decided to try to go for a Herald when he should have actually just hard farmed.
Yeah, and even if you want to go and make a play somewhere, right, you could always go towards the bottom side of the map where Gala is taking one plate. If you have a little bit of a numbers advantage there, maybe you can trade more plates and make it worthwhile, right? Herald is ultimately what the amount of plates you can get from the Herald. So if you can trade it, then that can work out for you. But not the way that RNG opt to do this one in the early game. So it is going to be top esports finding themselves another advantage here. But on face value right now, gold is dead even. This Herald could be the thing that builds a gold lead for one of the two teams.
And definitely as we start setting up for this dragon setup, so key backs are coming in, especially for itemization for the mid laners. I do feel like Renekton's still in a stronger position right now, which gives me leaning towards top esports for setting this up, although Hecarim can turn this if he gets a good ultimate. But it's weird because I always am like, top esports, they're in a good position that they can actually contest this dragon, but normally they don't really like to do that. Again, they like to extend lane phases, but Karsa's gonna pull the trigger for it, but here comes Wei.
JackeyLove jumps away, draws the target for now. He is on this Leona. He's pretty damn tanky. Flashes over the wall, gets himself out to safety. So a couple of cooldowns used, but Onslaught Shadow still available. Like, RNG still have all their ultimates if a fight did kick off, but I think that was the opportunity for them. They've decided to back away. Dragon has been stopped, and both teams just go, you know what? Never mind. I don't want to fight. I don't want the Drake. We'll all just walk away and farm.
And it was my mistake. I was paying attention to Renekton versus Viktor and being like, oh yeah, Renekton's actually stronger right now. Top esports can feel confident. But I did pay attention to the bot laners because look at Kaisa's itemization to Tristana right now. Of course Wei was going to walk through the bot lane and just use that powerhouse Kaisa of having the Kraken available to hard force top off of this dragon.
Yeah, very true. They do have the Kraken Slayer, so they're able to just brute force there. Karsa has to go up towards the top side. Has the Herald, remember. We saw him take that earlier, so he'll be able to get himself a Grump, but also can slam that Herald onto the top tower. The problem is, with a Sion, not really the best target to give that gold to if you can help it, so Karsa might hold off on that one. It certainly would have been an opportunity as Cryin is in trouble. Knight, both of them get stunned simultaneously, just stood next to each other, holding hands in the lane. Zhuo now getting dived, knocked up here. But is pretty tanky. He is that Leona managing to stun Ming under the tower. Knight TP's in, but doesn't have the slice and dice. Which is going to deter the dive from RNG. The Herald was used in the top side.
Yeah, and ultimately, across map, it's still a win for top esports, not just because that Herald manages to get 2 charges off as well as the tower, but also the fact that, hold on, Xiaohu?
Xiaohu actually gets knocked up, and that's the spear! Oh my days! They managed to punish Xiaohu. His flash was almost off cooldown, but he oversteps, and 369 shuts him down.
I was about to say, you know, all of the success that Knight did, the fact that he shoved the wave into Cryin, that he got a really good chip on him, traded ultimates, and then also got the teleport, meant that top esports looked really good cross-map, but then top esports get the cherry on top by also finding the kill on Xiaohu. And already, this looks like such a different beast than what we saw against EDG. Now, I will pump the brakes a little bit and say, we've seen top esports with multiple leads at this point, and then just completely toss team fights, and we haven't seen any team fights yet. It's really only been skirmishes and kind of 1v1s, 2v2s, 3v3s, those types of things, but it is looking much better for at least how top esports are playing out the lane phase in terms of how they're using their pressure cross map. You know, Knight responding with teleports, Karsa giving 369 a bone. Anytime RNG are applying pressure to the map, top esports are always finding an answer and not just trying to fight their way out of it.
And it feels like Karsa has been so intelligent with where he is on the map and how he's answering what Wei does in this early game. And when you look at Karsa's career statistics, he has an almost 80% win rate on this Nidalee over the years, with over 30 games played. Like, this is very much a specialty for Karsa, and you can really feel that in this game as he's winning on the farm, he's winning across the map, using that Herald beautifully. This feels like a game where Karsa can flourish.
And I feel like it also really changes the responsibility that Karsa has to his team and to those team fights that we keep talking about. Yesterday, or excuse me, the other day, we saw Karsa pretty much on Hecarim duty. He's responsible for finding the backline, looking for engagements or assassination. On Nidalee, yes, he still has assassination potential and he can play the same pattern, but he can also play defensively. You know, he can sit back with JackeyLove. He can try to keep him topped off, protect his AD carry, give him that big steroid. He can scout vision and just start trying to snipe people out with spears. So I think it gives Karsa a lot more tools for his skill expression and a lot more ways that he can impact individual skirmishes and fights rather than what the Hecarim was available for him in the 5v5s yesterday.
369 gets pulled in here, but he is Sion, so he'll be okay. Does have to back away, though, because Wei's moved to the bottom side of the map. And you can see the opposites in this game, right? Wei moves to the bottom side where Gala is very strong and they can punish onto the side. And then you look at the mini-map, the whole of top esports are grouped up around the Herald that's about to spawn.
Yeah, and already Karsa is going to be on top of that one. We'll see if RNG try to push through here. 369 is pretty tanky at this point in the game. Does have his chem tank as well as his boots and Thornmail. Excuse me, Bramble.
Yep, able to flash away over the wall here. Very respectful flash, honestly, from 369. I've seen him not flash in those scenarios before and just see if he can get away with it. But hey, this is playoffs. This is elimination matches. No more messing around for top esports. And honestly, for this team, this is a series that they really have to prove themselves in. This is the team that is just completely stacked, right? This is the powerhouse roster in the LPL in theory. It's not been looking like it in playoffs so far. It's time for them to prove themselves as the Herald goes down there.
This is a really good play from RNG if Gala and Ming can actually get back into position, though. So they push through topside. They're now sprinting mid lane, and they want to fight here if top esports overextend on this Herald push. But already, both teams much tighter on their macro plays. Top esports did not overcommit like they were against EDG. They get the second charge from the Herald. They do not press their luck, and they immediately pull back to get some pretty key itemization for the dragon spawning in 30 seconds. So far, I've been loving what I've seen from both teams, how they're playing around both Heralds, how they played around the Dragon, but here comes the real test for top esports. 30 seconds on the Dragon, they've got the key itemization. How do they set up for this? What wave do they prioritize? Where are they putting their vision, and how are they going to execute the team fights?
That would be the big question, is how does top esports do in those team fights? And when you look at the series between RNG and FPX, it was a very one-sided series, but one of the huge positives for RNG across that series was the teleport plays that we got to see. Both Xiaohu and Cryin have TPs available if they need to make a play happen, and that's going to be a TP from Cryin coming through. 369 going to use his ulti to get out of here, just about misses on Cryin. And like ships in the night, just very, very loud, they skip past each other.
Did he miss Cryin, or did Cryin make an executive decision that says, not today, I'm not taking this car accident today? Now I do want to remind us, the flash is probably going to come over for Knight, is that Gala has a big item disadvantage, or item advantage in this fight. He has a completed Phantom Dancer as they go in.
Well, the fight's on in. Gala jumps back to the back line, though, and Knight just gets taken down. Front to back, RNG are winning this one. Way happy to be up on the front, and it's another beautiful hook from Ming. Starting this one off, but Cryin is low. Way still going in, but their health bars are dropping. Top esports are winning this one out, but they lose a player. It's 3v4. Xiaohu now steps up. Can anything happen, though? 369 needs to try and look for a knock-up. Karsa still throwing these spears. It felt like top esports were winning the fight, but actually, the picks come out from RNG.
Top esports did manage to get away with the Ocean Dragon, and it was really good zone control. It still felt like pretty clean fighting, although I want to give credit for top of grabbing the dragon and being like, we're not going to push our luck. We've lost our hard engage. Let's actually just walk away from this one. Karsa fishing a little bit with some spears there, and speaking of fishing, caught.
Well, Cryin is not having a good time in the 1v1. I think it's fair to say that, but this is not why they picked the Viktor. Let's just forget about this.
Viktor is literally here just to be a body and to be zone control. So as we take another look at this team fight, Gala gets chunked out pretty heavily, but he does a good job of making sure that no one can reach him. You know, dodges away from the Leona, is able to reset himself with his ultimate away from 369, who is pressuring on him. And then with the gravity field from Viktor multiple times, it just creates enough zone control that Gala and Xiaohu are able kind of to dance around and pick off key members of top esports to kind of make them even across the board in the fight. That said, top still got the dragon, they still have the gold lead, and Knight is still a really big problem.
Yeah, it does feel like, kind of weirdly, top esports are finding themselves advantages. And as you rightly say, dragon not usually where they play the game, but this draft with 369 as the weak side in the map is not usually what we expect out of top esports. We usually expect them to have 369 as one of the real points of strength on the map. So definitely a different look for them, but you can feel how much safer both of these teams are playing comparatively to their last series, right? Top esports especially, there's the JackeyLove effect, right? That's what Forest Within has dubbed it, where this team loves to push for too much. They love to overextend. We're not seeing that so far in this game, and that feels like a welcome change for the squad.
Yeah, JackeyLove really takes after Uzi sometimes, and where he can have, you know, incredible international performances, but domestically sometimes you just gotta get the int out of your system sometimes. You gotta flash forward when you shouldn't flash forward. You gotta W into multiple people. You have to overstay your welcome because you need that one more wave or that one more plate. So far, though, this game has been pretty solid. Unfortunately for JackeyLove, his lane opponent is A, ahead of clock on CS, B, has 3 kills to his name, and C, is still sitting with a pretty hefty lead. So I think that this game is really actually going to come back to, can Karsa find valuable spears that just, completely make team fights lopsided? And can 369 find strong engagements alongside Knight to get onto the backline and kind of pop or threaten Gala, where the range from Tristana can be the difference here, even though JackeyLove is down in itemization.
Yeah, and I want to mention that itemization in a second as well, but I do just quickly need to... Big PSA here. We're past 20 minutes. Baron is on the map. Top Esports is in this game. Baron is now up for grabs. Top Esports, at the drop of a hat, will be willing to start this Baron if RNG show on the bottom side of the map. Just keep that in your mind at all times. But as you rightly say, 2 items, actually 2.5 now, as the last Whisper is picked up by Gala as well. So Gala is absolutely monstrously huge in this game right now, but the big difference in favor of Top Esports is, as you rightly say, Knight is huge. He is going to be so tanky in these fights.
And also looking for kind of the updated Kaisa build. There's still a couple of Kaisa players that are looking for Kraken into Collector, and this time around, obviously making use of the Phantom Dancer, and now looking for, I'm assuming it's going to be Dominic's. So a much more late game scaling traditional ADC Kaisa build than some of the collector builds that we've seen around. And I think that makes sense when you're looking at something like a Sion, like a Renekton, like a Leona. A lot of resistances to get through.
Yeah, this is front to back Kaisa for sure here from Gala. And understandably, right, when you look at the compositions and the way this is likely to be played. One thing I will say though is RNG can play through side lanes very well with a Lucian on the comp, right? You can see a world where RNG could play towards sort of 1-3-1 style as opposed to just straight up team fighting in the late game.
I just think while it is possible, and of course Lucian, if he's left to his own devices, can just beat on Sion or Renekton. If he ever has one of them get on top of him, it becomes a very different story. So I still find it a bit of a skill matchup. A little bit easier because he has the Hecarim on his side, and you called the Baron, there we are, but Top Esports know exactly what's happening, and pay attention to where Knight is. This is a very deep crocodile.
Yeah, Crocodile's pretty good at swimming, so Knight goes deep on this one, but he'll be able to get out with the stride breaker there. I will just quickly say, I called Top Esports starting a random Baron. I did not expect RNG to TP up to start the Baron. And Top Esports just woke up like, yeah, wards exist, guys, don't worry about it.
I think it was RNG actually trying to play on the Dragon, thinking that Top Esports would commit to the Drake and then give RNG kind of the, do you have this warded check to trade Baron for it? Now, you were just talking about the 1-4 potential that RNG could have with that Lucian. Well, obviously, not having the flash means that they have to team fight now.
Here we go, team fights in. 369 gets a good knock up onto Cryin, but JackeyLove chased down, knocked up by the depth charge, and taken out of the fray. Gala with the first kill of this one. 369 might be tanky, but that true damage from Clack and Slayer will do a lot of work. Knight once again kills Cryin for the 19th time this game. But RNG overall win the fight, because Zhuo's been caught as well. Going to overextend a little for this one, as it's a 2v4 right now. Karsa actually going into the fray towards Gala, but doesn't have the damage to finish the kills off. 369 trying to protect the jungler. Flashes forward, but Gala escapes. And RNG take the fight comfortably.
Karsa trying his best to give his superhero moment. I cannot believe he dove into that. He had 369 covering him with the devastating smash, and Knight is just trying to see if he can get anything else, but what a crucial team fight for RNG to find right there. And I misspoke earlier, I said flash, I meant teleport. The fact that Xiaohu used his TP there means the side lane pressure now completely changes because Cryin's the one with the TP. And yeah, he can push waves just fine, but he is so vulnerable by himself to basically any member from Top Esports. So it was really crucial that RNG won this team fight because they basically can only play the 5v5s until they have that TP back up. We called this a front-to-back Kaisa because the team fight was so scattered. With Wei, she actually just zipped down and assassinated JackeyLove. JackeyLove's like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I got 2 people on me. I die in CC. Like, he takes his hands off the keyboard. He's like, there's nothing. I can't do anything.
I can only W buffer so much. I want to quickly talk about Gala before we get another fight, because I got a feeling this game pace is going to start to really pick up now. Gala Kaisa has been his most played champion of the split. He's got 13 games on the Kaisa this year and has almost a 70% win rate on that pick. This has been an absolute key pick for RNG, and it feels like Gala is so comfortable in this front-to-back style of the Kaisa. And it feels like the rest of RNG as well are so good at playing around Gala when it gets to these late-game team fights.
Yeah, it was really beautiful, and it wasn't just, RNG setting up Gala. You did give him the credit there, but like you're saying, it was his flash at the last second to deny Karsa the assassination kill when Karsa tried to go, beast mode into the back line. It was his positioning. He's just been incredibly impressive so far in game number 1, and unfortunately for all of Top Esports Lead, again, when it comes to these big 5v5s, when it comes to the setup, they have messy fights, they get flanked on, no one's protecting the back line, and now suddenly the game is slowly being pulled away from them. They still have a gold lead, they still have that great individual clutch potential, as 369 even looking for a really deep flank here, but, this is typically where Top Esports fans start to sweat a bit.
Wei could have been caught out though, stunned from Knight, but Wei is just charging around this prey right now. Actually engages onto Knight. Dominus is going to have to be used. Gala could have been caught out though. Ming's in trouble. JackeyLove jumps away from the fight on this one as Cryin is there. 369's found Gala. He's 1v1. Sion doesn't care about your damage items. That is one tanky boy. And he just got 1,000 gold in his pocket. It's going to be 1 for 1 though, because Karsa went down. So jungle advantage in favor of RNG, but they're pinned right now as Top Esports look for the flank. Knight can jump over the wall. Doesn't have Dominus here, but 369 could be the tank. He's happy to step on up. JackeyLove can make the play happen here, but he gets stunned by the gravity field. Knight is in the middle of everyone. Cryin goes down yet again to the crocodile. He's got crocophobia in this game. As Ming now trying to desperately get away. Xiaohu still full health. Maybe he can carry the fight. Maybe that could be what happens, but the flash stun comes out from Knight. The follow-up isn't quite there. JackeyLove with the bomb. Will it be enough to tick down? Xiaohu survives.
Oh, and by the hair on his chinny chin, Xiaohu manages to get out of that one. Okay, very messy team fight. Also a really weird team fight. 369 was looking for a deep flank on mid lane before they started fighting around Baron, and then just took like the scenic route to get into the fight, found Gala, and was like, hey, this is exactly where I want to be anyway. Good news is that the Sion then gets 1,000 gold shutdown bonus. Like, look at your minimap. Look at 369. He's like, hello tower. Hello, Wolf Camp. Hello, Gala. Finally finds the Kaisa. Now,
he's a tourist.
I know, right? Does pay off really massively here. We'll see how this translates in terms of his itemization for the next team fight. But still, everything has just been an absolute mess. We keep talking about front-to-back team fights, and we've yet to actually have one. This is just skirmish on skirmish. All 10 people are in the same area, but it's like a 2v2 over here or 1v1 over here. It's just like mud wrestling.
Yeah, it feels like both teams playing with espionage right now, as Knight is a secret agent in the backline. Min is 007, 007 on the scoreboard, but Knight's been spotted by Wei. In goes 369 to engage the fight, and Ming is gone. He's eradicated immediately in this one, as 369 can step on forward. The Top Esports don't actually want the fight. They want the Drake for themselves. Knight is more than happy to be caught by the onslaught of shadows. That is a huge cooldown now off. Unavailable for RNG as the Drake is pulled out of the pit here. Karsa has the smite available, finishes the Drake. Xiaohu with the culling. This is 5v4. RNG might be overextending here. Now onto Wei goes Top Esports. Xiaohu on the flank, but he's Lucian. He's able to get one trade effectively, but Gala now on his own. In the back of the pit, he's knocked out. JackeyLove saves Gala's life. It's a disaster for Top Esports. Cryin has been pretty useless this game and continues to be so, but Top Esports get the Drake.
I definitely need to see that replay. I don't know if Gala saved himself with his ultimate by repositioning over the back of the pit, or if it was JackeyLove who was trying to find the assassination and pushed him out with Tristana's ultimate. But that came down to the wire. Ultimately, though, Top Esports still coming out on top. They're now looking for their Mountain Soul, and we just talked about the massive gold that 369 was able to get. Look at how tanky he is. In the duration that Ming hits the CC, he just instantly dies, and 369 is so confident to step forward and create the necessary space for Top Esports to get everything they want. This is much better setup than we saw against EDG. But here comes the actual fight. I think it's a mistake here from Xiaohu to actually go over the other side and to split the team fight. I understand he feels confident with the culling, but, you know, you are playing with space pretty carefully here. Okay, let's see what happens with Gala. Does he reposition with his ult? No, he uses his ult right there. He does get saved by JackeyLove. Oh, no!
Oh, so I see what happened there. Cryin finishes the kill on JackeyLove. So JackeyLove is autoing to finish the kill, but he dies before the auto comes out. So that was like a literal game of millimeters on that one. But I just want to point out, this is one of the big problems with Nautilus, right? If you don't get Aftershock off, you're about as strong as an aluminium can, right? They could just crush you in the palm of their hand. Baron is the name of the game right now, though, Frosk. We're 30 minutes into this one. Top esports have 3 Drakes, and you can see everyone climbs up towards the top side of the map.
Okay, I just have a feeling we're just going to be Bash Bros again. So let's talk about key summoners that are available. JackeyLove doesn't have his flash. I don't think Rocket Jump really means anything to a lot of champions that can really interrupt it, so he's still very fragile. Whereas Gala has everything. Cleanse, the flash, his ultimate. So who is going to be the difference maker? Is it going to be the AD carries, the bot diff, or is this going to be a mid-top diff? 369 can team fight very effectively. Look at his items. He is a big, beefy boy. Look at his level. He should feel confident to look for the team fight now.
Round is just going to go down, but Karsa gets in. It was 60 HP. Karsa can't get the smite. And now suddenly the team fight is on. Wei trying to escape, but Ming is the first one to go down. Kills in the back of the pit. As Knight has to back away. He's the front line right now. As 369 is too low on health. Gala goes in by himself. JackeyLove forced to jump out. Top esports in full retreat right now. RNG get the Baron, and they're looking for a little bit more. Killer instincts on cooldown, though. So they just have to settle for the 2.
Just playing on a knife's edge, though. RNG was so much fun to watch on this composition as they're like, should we engage? Should we just let it go? And just playing with space perfectly against so many melee engagers. You know, Leona, Renekton, Sion. If Xiaohu misplays that space, he's screwed. He's absolutely destroyed. But the confidence on this guy, the balls on this guy to play as upfront as he has been.
I mean, honestly, that's one of the things about the players in this lobby is they're all very confident. Xiaohu dashes in a straight line. Oh, that was so close to disaster, and it costs him his flash. Xiaohu could have just dodged that one. He could have dodged it, but he dashed in a straight line. Rule for solo queue, never flash in the direction that the skill shot is going.
When you have 3 dashes and it's still that much of a clincher, oh no. He turned the corner, he saw the alligator, he's like, oh shit. I gotta get out of here.
Everyone is very afraid of this alligator. Knight's scoreline might not look that impressive this game, but Cryin can tell you that Knight is an absolute terror in this one when it comes to getting on that backline and one-shotting squishies.
I will give credit to Cryin. Like, just cover up the KDA. He's not had a good time, but the amount of impact that he's made in fights, we just Gravity Field and Chaos Storm has actually been pretty significant because this comp is still relatively fragile, and it really has been on Cryin to create the proper space with him and Ming. Like, their zone control has been really good for Gala and Xiaohu.
Well, RNG, it's time for them to start to put their foot down and get some towers with this Baron. It's 5-4 in towers right now, and RNG are mildly ahead in gold, but to be honest, the gold difference is much more about where the gold is stacked on each team, right? And when we talk about the AD carry difference, Gala is nearly maxed out with 33 minutes into the game, and he's just half an item away from 6 at this point.
That just sounds like the worst, like, Mexican food you could ever want to. It's mild. It's mildly ahead. You know, you want, like, spicy. You want some heat with that dish. But that's what this game has really been. It's been some mildly ahead team fights as the soul from Mountain is denied. Top esports, of course, know that if they took that fight and it was bad with Baron, it would surely mean at least one of their inhibitors, probably the game, so they waved the white flag on that one. And they're just trying to collect waves and wait for this Baron to pause off. What you're looking for is to get 369 to hard push the wave and then get himself in a flanking position. He does have teleport, and there is a deep ward behind RNG that 369 could pull the trigger on now if he wanted to.
Tower goes down, and RNG committing to the inhib here. 369 not going to TP for the time being. RNG pushed off the inhib, though. I think maybe respecting the fact that 369 is off somewhere in the world with potentially a teleport. RNG get to move back in, though. They get to go for the inhib. 369 just going to recall. Doesn't pull the trigger just yet, perhaps waiting to use that home guard. Maybe just the threat of the recall enough to force RNG away here.
Yeah, and also RNG getting what they want is Karsa now caught out.
Karsa's been caught. You may be four-legged, but so is Wei, and he is quicker than you are. Gala gets yet another kill. That's 7 on the board for Gala at this point, and that pick blows this map wide open.
Just a really critical mistake. Karsa definitely not respecting that there was going to be flanking vision or flanking wards from RNG, that he would be spotted on moving into that and immediately punished for that. And suddenly RNG are back on the offensive, pushing on these Nexus towers.
This could be the game. Ming goes in, gets the knock up onto the back line here as well. Happy to tank up the towers. Ming low, but walks away with his life for now. 369 taking a culling to the backside, but he's pretty damn tanky. Top Esports doing a really good job there of holding onto the base.
So RNG unable to break the Nexus. They should return to Top Esports' jungle, eat all of the camps. Guys, in your solo queue games, if you can't push anything else, just make sure as you're walking back to your base that you're cleaning out the jungle, denying as much gold as possible from your opponent. As Knight just sadly looking for someone on a bad back, checking to see if someone's backing in that red rush. But RNG, or excuse me, Top Esports, like you've said, they did manage to hang on to their Nexus towers. They only lost a single inhab, the mid one. I think Carson knew as soon as he walked over that control ward. He's like, oh no, this is it, isn't it?
Yeah, he knows he's made a terrible, terrible mistake, which is unfortunate for Karsa because he's had such a good game as well. Up until that point, he'd had such a great game for himself, but you know, gets a little bit caught out. I will say, in terms of the CS numbers, he's doing great in the jungle, but we're kind of beyond the point of jungle CS numbers really being a driving factor in the game.
The nice thing, though, is that JackeyLove has actually reached the itemization that he needs to, as 369's just trying to get out of that. Wasn't sure really who was going to come through on the TP. It was Cryin. But back to JackeyLove's itemization, he's still down a Dominix from Gala, but he doesn't need the armor penetration against the fragile comp of RNG. He's still able to fight front to back really successfully, having both the Phantom Dancer, the Infinity Edge, and the Kraken, and now also has the GA on top of it. So I actually really like the position Tristana is in, despite the fact that she's an item down because of how squishy RNG's composition is.
Yeah, one of the nice things about Tristana as well is you can stack that bomb on the Hecarim and Wei will spread that damage to the entire team. That is a huge amount of AoE burst damage, but RNG, speaking of burst damage, are just going to one-shot the Baron. It goes down in the blink of an eye, and now the team fights. 369 goes in. Ming low, but he survives for now. JackeyLove knocked up, but nobody can follow up here. Top Esports get the first kill of the fight. It's looking good, but now RNG flip it back on its head. Onto Zhuo they go. Wade the front line as Zhuo goes in to try and buy space for the team. JackeyLove is solo, and Top Esports are dropping like flies. 369 ain't tanky enough. Karsa on the back line. Gala still surviving, but Karsa goes in. Turns it on its head. 369 is dead, but it doesn't matter. Cryin survives. Gala with the GA and a quadra kill to boot.
11, 1, and 4 on this Kaisa. Gala has just had a free time hitting whoever he wants. At the end of the day, it was RNG that had better control over space. You know, say whatever you want about Cryan's scoreline. Those Chaos Storms, those gravitational fields, they came in clutch to give Xiaohu and Gala the space to get onto that front line. JackeyLove never got to hit his opponents, and RNG will take game 1 cleanly.
At a 37-minute mark, almost 38, RNG take the first game in this series. We're into the lower bracket, and it feels like they've buckled their ideas up. They've figured out what they needed to do off their loss against FPX, and they have come in firing on all cylinders into this elimination match. And it has to be said that, I mean, you're absolutely right that Cryin managing to have a much bigger impact than perhaps people would have expected off of that early laning phase, because he got bullied pretty hard to start the game off. We saw Zhuo roaming up, we saw lots of ganks from Karsa onto the mid lane. But the thing about this Viktor is, so long as you've dropped your stun and you've dropped your Chaos Storm, that stuff still goes on. Even if you die right at the start of the fight, all of that is still doing work.
Yeah, and it was also things like, you know, Ming opened up every single time by throwing the Nautilus ultimate down onto JackeyLove, and it forced JackeyLove, especially in that last fight, to just reflexively pull the rocket as far away as possible. And then JackeyLove, you know, is spending those crucial seconds in the air from the rocket jump, in the air from the depth charge, and then walking back over to his team, and then he has to wait because the gravitational field is in front of him, because the Chaos Storm is in front of him. Just really well executed, and RNG fans, I mean, you're an RNG fan, or not RNG fan, TES fans must just be like ripping their hair out. Like, there's always a lead, it always looks so good, and then as soon as it comes to team fighting recently, it just all turns to shit. Like, it is so frustrating to watch.
Yeah, it's difficult, and I think that especially when you're drafting things like Nidalee, Renekton, you could see as the game went on that this composition needed to have won by now. Like when we were getting past the 30-minute mark, it really felt like they were no longer able to really pull the trigger in the fights. It felt like this was a snowball comp that wasn't able to snowball. And yeah, like he was dead for the vast majority of the game. It doesn't matter. He's basically Karthus on the Viktor, realistically. So long as you got your ult up, it doesn't matter if you die.
This is a perfect snapshot of what happened that game. Look at Knight's damage to champions. Look at Cryin's. If you looked at their KDA, if you looked at how aggressively Knight was playing, how much he was trying to bully people out, Knight was responsible of checking the flanks. Knight was constantly, behind the dragon pits, taking little skirmishes, going back over the pit, hunting for people, using his TP, applying pressure over the map. But it wasn't translating to anything. And Cryin, like, yeah, he's getting blasted, but all he needs to do, like you're saying, is just drop his face on the keyboard, hit his buttons, and his damage is ridiculous.
It's beautiful stuff. And also with the Liandry's as well, when a Chaos Storm is hitting everyone in a fight with Liandry's ticking on every single one of those hits, that is a huge amount of burning going across the whole side of Top Esports. But I do want to compliment RNG here. This wasn't just, oh, Top Esports weren't able to execute and therefore RNG wins by default. RNG played this really cleanly and really intelligently. Like there was multiple times where we were talking about TPs and things. They really respected what Top Esports could pull out and played around.